Well, hello there. It's so good to be back with you again. I'm happy to be with you in this wonderful YouTube video. Did that intro feel authentic? Very authentic, right? Um, I've been thinking about authenticity since this is our series, and I think that's why people hate salespeople because they're so nice, but you know that underneath they're just like trying to sell you something, right? That the niceness is not for niceness's sake, but it's just because they want you to feel good so that you'll buy something from them. And that the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because that was my salesman voice, but at the same time, that applies to people besides just the salesman. I think people can tell when people are being fake, and it makes you kind of feel like I want to get away from you. So straight away, that's like one of the negatives of being inauthentic is that people have like a little radar for it, and they don't like it. People don't like it. It makes them like, I can tell this is fake and I don't like this, right? But let's talk about first, we're going to talk about a verse, and then we'll get into the verse and talk about if it's such a negative to be inauthentic, why do people do it, right? Why are people inauthentic if it's such a bad thing? And what are the hangups and the struggles of being authentic? Why is it hard, but why is it so important? So let's get into the verse. The verse is from Galatians chapter 1, verse 10. Galatians chapter 1, verse 10. It says this: Am I saying this now to win the approval of people or God? Am I trying to please people? If I were trying to please people, I would not be Christ's servant. So this is our good old buddy Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, and Paul is saying, like, as I'm writing this stuff, why am I doing it? Am I doing it to make people happy, or am I doing it to make God happy, right? Because if I'm trying to make people happy, then I'm not like working for God, right? I'm actually working for people. And I think this applies to the idea of authenticity because what are we trying to do? Are we trying to be true to who God made us to be, right? To fulfill his image, to please God? Or are we trying to please other people? And I think that is one of the core fundamentals of inauthenticity, is that we are trying to win the approval of people, whether that's like to make friends, to get a boyfriend, a girlfriend, to um, win some type of like ASB thing, to get on a sports team, to impress our parent, like whatever it is, we feel like we want to win their approval. And then the like heart of it, the like sad part of inauthenticity is that we don't think who we are is enough to do that. And so we need to put on this persona, this false self, this inauthenticity in order to make that happen, right? And so my encouragement for you is that anyone who doesn't approve of you for your true self isn't worth getting their approval anyways. Anyone who does not approve of your true self doesn't, they're not worth their approval. It's not worth it. Because let's say like you've made your best friends by being a fake person. Well, even if they are like, let's assume the best and assume that they are actually genuinely great people. But on their end, who are they friends with? They're friends with a person that doesn't actually exist. They're friends with a person that you have created because you didn't feel confident enough to show them your true self. And so it's like self-defeating. They're not friends with you because you haven't shown them who you are. Does that make sense? And so it's hard to be authentic for several reasons. Because if you are vulnerable and you are your true self to other people, And let's say they say, I don't want to be your friend, or I don't want to be your boyfriend or girlfriend, or I don't really like you that much. That can hurt a lot more than if someone rejects this like false persona, this false self, right? Rejection hurts, and especially when they're rejecting who you really are. Rejection really hurts. Trust, I understand that. But the thing is that you have to trust me. You have to believe me. You can get over it and you can get past it, right? You can get over it and you can get past it, especially when you can trust deep down that you love yourself and that you know that God loves you. When you know those things and you can hold on to those, you're able to move past rejection. So, why aren't people authentic? Because they're scared of rejection. Another reason, I was just talking about this with someone. A lot of times, I don't want to be a bother to someone, right? So when someone says, like, legitimately, they're asking me, how are you doing? Well, I don't want to burden them. I don't want to bother them. It's not that important. And so I'd rather just tell them I'm fine, right? And that was like my MO all through high school. Didn't matter how bad I was doing, what sort of headspace I was in, how stressed I was, how sad I was, how lonely I was. My answer was always fine. But you cannot do anything with fine. You cannot do anything with fine, right? If I am struggling, but everyone around me thinks I'm fine, who can actually help me? If I'm struggling, but everyone assumes I'm fine, where am I going to get help from? I know it is difficult to talk about your problems or to feel like you're a burden, but you have to trust me and believe me that there are people in your life who care about you enough to want to truly know how you're doing. There are people who truly want to know how you're doing, and that when you say fine, they believe you. And no help will come from that. So it is so important and critical to be authentic with how you are doing. And like we talked about last week, there's obviously a time and a place. You don't have to spill your guts. But there are people in your life who genuinely care about you and want to know how you're doing. And if your answer is always fine, they're going to believe you. Okay? So it is important to be authentic so that people know how you're doing. And you have to trust that they want to know and that you are not a burden to them. All right? So those are just a little thoughts about why it is harmful to be inauthentic and why it is hard but important to be authentic, right? And so as you're going about your week, I want you to think, why am I doing this thing? Why am I saying this thing? Why am I acting this way? Is it to try to win the approval of others? Or is it to stay true to who God made me? To have integrity with who God made me to be? To fulfill like his image in myself? For what reason am I doing something? And if it is to please people, maybe consider, is this really the most important thing? Is this really what I should be doing? Or should I be staying true to myself and who God made me to be and please God in that way? So that is it for our little mini series on authenticity. Something new coming up next week. I hope you all had a great Halloween. It was so fun seeing you all on Wednesday. I hope you're doing well, and we will talk with you soon. Bye-bye.